America is on the verge of a massive, massive food crisis. Just to give you an idea, last year we became a net importer of food. So we no longer produce enough of our own food, even though we're more than capable of feeding ourselves and feeding the world. But we are sitting on a massive food crisis. The video I'm going to show you is of our ranch. It's of the land that myself and a couple dozen other families are homesteading on and attempting to restore. Now, just to give you some backstory, this land used to be a seasonal lake. We get a bunch of runoff from these two mountain ranges we have on either side of our valley and become a seasonal lake. And then through the rest of the year, it would have a small river that ran through it and fed it. In fact, it's done that for so long that we still have waterfowl, different breeds of waterfowl come through our land as part of their migratory pattern, but there's no water. How does that happen? Well, this is important for you to know because this is what's going to happen to our entire country, and we are teetering on the edge of it. I'm not an expert on this. I'm a student. I'm still learning. But basically, in order to have something called soil, which is what life springs forth from, you have to have a complex system. Plants don't just grow in dirt. Plants need various nutrients. They need a bunch of things, but chiefly they need nitrogen, phosphorus, good pH levels, and biolife, and things feeding those systems. Believe it or not, when you plant corn, it pulls a bunch of nitrogen out of the soil, and that's what gives you some of the nutrients and calories that corn offers. But if corn just keeps growing in the same spot, eventually it becomes more and more sparse because it's pulling more than is being put into the land. That's one of the challenges of monocropping. But anyway, just to give you an idea, our land got turned into a farm and that used shortcut farming. And what I mean by shortcut farming is that there is a natural system that has to be maintained. Our ancestors figured out these systems. That's why you hear about things like crop rotation. You would see that people would section off their land into various quarters, and they would use different plants and different animals to restore the soil. So I can plant corn, but then next season I need to plant some things that restore nitrogen. I need to have animals coming through that are putting nitrogen and bacteria back in the soil. And basically, what we did is we found out that we could use things like natural gas to create artificial fertilizers that pump the soil with nitrogen and the other nutrients that it needs to have. But it's not creating biolife, and those nutrients get yanked out as soon as they're put on. So they're not actually helping the land. Think of it more along the lines of like you could eat the right things to be healthy and energetic, or you could just take cocaine. And that's basically what we've done. We've made America's soil a cocaine addict. And what happened is that as soon as the artificial inputs stopped coming, what you see before you is what happened to us, is what happened to the land. It's going to take several years to fix that. We've started by bringing cows in and chickens to put nutrients back in the soil, to bring biolife back into the ground, but we're going to have to bring in all sorts of things. It's going to be a decade of work, and this valley will be beautiful again, and there's some of us that are dedicated to doing that. But the reason I want you to know about this is that this shortcut farming, where we're not rebuilding the soil, we're just dumping artificial things on it in order to pump out as much food as we can, we're already at a tipping point in this country. We're already at a tipping point. All it will take is one major global conflict or shortage, and the rest of our country, the Midwest, the breadbasket of the world, is going to look like my valley. If you aren't doing things right now to store food, if you aren't doing things to grow your own food, build soil wherever you are, wherever you're at, if you're not bringing animals, if you're not doing that stuff, you are going to be in for a world of hurt. Because there's no way for us to fix this quick enough. I mean, if we somehow can establish peace for a decade and radically change our farming practices and our ranching practices and get rid of these big corporate farms that couldn't give two craps about the longevity of the land, if we can do that, then great. But chances are that's not going to happen. So you need to start doing these things. We have to start projects that restore and build soil, or we are going to be in a world of hurt.